Welcome to Epic Begins with One Step Forward, the podcast that reveals how to plan, achieve, and enjoy the journey of creating epic results in your life, business, health, and relationships. Here's your host, best-selling author and motivational speaker, Xander Sprague.
Hello, epic people, and welcome back to another exciting episode of Epic Begins with One Step Forward. I'm your host, Xander Sprague, and today I am honored to be joined by Morgan DeNicola. Morgan, tell us who you are and what you do.
I am a philanthropist. I run my family foundation, the DeNicola Family Foundation. I run a lot of the global programs that we do, but I also sit on the board of a zoo called the Elmwood Park Zoo. And I'm also the vice chair of an NGO that works with the United Nations, U.S.-based embassies around the world, and members of Congress and the Senate.
I don't think you're doing enough, Morgan. Really?
Never enough.
So let's just take a minute and talk about your family foundation. What do you support? What does the foundation do?
We have four passions. So first, we have humanitarian recognition. We give out a humanitarian award at the host city, wherever the Super Bowl is. And we team up with Lee Steinberg at his Super Bowl party. And we give it to front staff, NFL players, staffers. And we recognize what it is that they're doing in their community to kind of give back. And then we also focus on global health. We've done things with hospitals around the world, the American Thoracic Society, anything that you can really think of that comes into mind when you think global health, which includes mental health, nutrition. And then we have cultural diplomacy, which is near and dear to my heart, where we try to expose people all around the world to all different types of cultures and ways of thinking, and try to get people to have these really in-depth conversations with one another. And then we have conservation. That's why I do my work with the zoo. We've also dug clean water wells in Africa, because that kind of ties in our minds, to global health. If you don't have a healthy environment, it's very hard for your health. So those are our four passions that we like to kind of stick to. But, always there's something that comes along that we're like, oh, that sounds really interesting, that we'll want to be a part of.
Absolutely. Yeah, my family has a charitable gift fund through Fidelity Investments in memory of my sister. And yeah, I totally get it. We understand some of the core stuff, but then you're like, oh, wow, look, we'd like to support that. That's really cool. So I totally get that. And then the NGO. Very interesting.
Yes, we do all kinds of programs with the different embassies, but we also do different culture programs. We've done art, where we brought different art exhibits from across seas into the United Nations. We've done film. We've also done journalism, food. We've done food programs where different types of food we've kind of brought to different places. So we do a lot of that, as well as the different embassies, depending on where they're based, will request for us to bring members of Congress to discuss very specific things that impact that embassy. And it's to keep those relations going and to have these positive conversations where, again, members of government can learn what's going on in different places and how we can either incorporate it or how we can kind of help with whatever situation, any advice that we might have. The most recent one I did was actually in Rwanda for the Tutsi genocide. So I brought members of Congress to learn about what happened in the 90s in Rwanda. And to also kind of, continue that conversation on how they continue to mend from what happened. And that way we learn from their experience.
Definitely. That's fascinating. So did you come up with the NGO? Did your family come up with the NGO?
My dad met some really interesting people that were working with that group, and he knew how I felt. I was very passionate about charity work. I'd love to travel the world. I'd love to just dive into any place that I go. So he said, I think that you'll find this really interesting. Start coming with me to some of these programs. And it just came really natural for me. It was just something I got incredibly passionate about. And I felt like it continued to test your ability as a human being. And so anytime they had a program, you interested in going, if I could get away from work, I was like, yeah, I want to go. And over the years of just learning and being a part of it, they asked me, do you want to be on our board? And absolutely jumped at the opportunity. And then once I was on the board for a few years, they, out of nowhere, did a vote for me to be vice chair. And it was the funniest moment because they said, we'd like to nominate Morgan. And I was like, oh, we have a new Morgan.
Yeah.
Who wait, no, me? And it just became something that I love to split my time with, because I think if you're in philanthropy, you should also have a knowledge of global philanthropy and diplomacy. So I like to
Definitely.
merge all the worlds and do the best that I can.
Absolutely. So what did you study in college? I mean, because this is truly an epic journey that you've been on, but I'm like always fascinated to understand some of the background of how people got to where they are.
I actually studied special education.
Oh, good
Um,
for you.
Yeah, I myself am dyslexic and I had a real hard time in school, and I always felt like I wasn't smart enough and would go into panic if I had to read out loud or do any type of presentation. So I thought my way to give back to the world was to be a special education teacher and help those kids who felt very similar to me. As well as I studied sociology, and I just loved the study of people because I think we are wild. We are just a wild species to try to figure out. So
Absolutely.
it was sociology and special education, and then I didn't know. I realized I don't know if I want to work in a school, and so I ended up doing marketing for my parents who had all different kinds of companies. And I was just like, this isn't right either. And then one of my first trip being invited with the NGO to Africa, it completely changed my life. And I came back and said, well, I'm not doing marketing anymore. But the education I use constantly. Everything I learned about sociology and how to teach people, I say that I'm still a teacher and I'm still a student. So it comes into play constantly.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I know I'm not dyslexic, but my girlfriend is, and funny enough, she's in special ed also. So she does early intervention
That's me.
for extensive needs kids. So, but in talking with her and learning more, I mean, I knew about dyslexia, but getting to talk with someone who's living with it, I have to say, an advantage that children and people have today is there's a lot more, one, understanding, but two, also tools available that I know she didn't have, and I'm going to guess you didn't have. If there were any tools, they were few and far between to help you along. So I think it's good that there's stuff like audiobooks if you're having a hard time reading, or and computers obviously have helped a lot with that. Although sometimes if you're dyslexic, the computer is really not much more of a help. My understanding is because I have a problem reading, whether it's on a page or on a screen, doesn't matter.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's definitely, there's a lot more tools. And even when I continue to try to do my education, I love those online master classes where it's more done like a documentary and I can watch and
yeah,
listen, kind of absorb it that way. I'll put subtitles on with everything though to continue to try to help my brain and like read. But it you never like are cured from it. It definitely still, if I'm handed a document, takes me a little longer to absorb it all because you spend so much time concentrating on how to read it rather than absorbing it.
absolutely. That's my understanding. So I that's good. Now, I too have been fortunate to travel. I've been fortunate to travel to Africa, and I do have to say that it sounds to me that Africa is in your heart.
Yeah, it's definitely, and everybody that I've been able to talk to that has been there, it's weird when you go there, you do in a sense feel home. And
Absolutely.
The culture is just I've been to a few different places in Africa, and the culture is so rich, and the people are so inviting and welcoming that it's hard not to go there and feel empowered and changed and a part of something that is so much bigger than you are.
Absolutely. No, I have that same feeling that I've been able to travel to South Africa, like down more in the southern part of South Africa, Zambia, Zimbabwe, Botswana, and it is funny. I mean, I get back there and I'm like, kind of like, yeah, I kind of feel like, and it sounds weird and stuff to say I'm home because I'm a white man, so I'm like, oh, I'm home. But there is something really, I don't know, grounding. And yes, the people are so fascinating. I honestly feel like I don't have enough time to learn.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's everything. It's the food, it's the music, and I like to say that I think that that was the birthplace of man was Africa, and that's
Well,
why when
that's, I mean,
you
anthropologists tell us that. So it's
it
kind of
is.
like, okay, well, I'd like to sort of go, okay, well, it kind of makes sense because we all started here,
Yeah.
according to anthropology, or at least what I believe to be the anthropological thinking right now. I don't, you know,
Yeah,
anyway.
I don't know, but yes, that's what I was taught as well, is that was where it started and then it all broke apart, but, I feel the same way, and, I'm the same way when I go there. It's a white girl who does not fare very well in the sun for an extended period of time, but I still somehow feel very, very at home and loved and a part of it, so I recommend it to every human being to just go and spend some time in Africa.
Absolutely. I too am like, if you can go, go.
So
It changes you. I was fortunate to be able to bring my daughters when they were young, and they too are like, oh, Africa is great. And what you get to see and the people that you get to meet, and again, getting exposed to different cultures, I think, is so important. It broadens your whole horizon. It changes the way you see your own life, I think.
yeah.
Um,
I think entirely that is really accurate, because until you're continuing to expose yourself to everything and everyone, how can you say you know who you are and what you like and what you don't like? The more I'm exposed to different ways of thinking, different ways of doing things, I am like, "Oh, wait, I love this." And you learn more about yourself and you learn more about everything that makes us us. So I am always saying expose yourself constantly. Don't get too comfortable. The most growth occurs when you're uncomfortable. So try that new food, listen to that new music, talk to somebody that you wouldn't normally talk to.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And in that, oftentimes that epic first step is, we think about it and we think, oh, it's so hard. And yet when we do it, we're like, well, that wasn't too hard. And look at this. And you're right. All of us, change happens and change isn't comfortable. As a mental health provider, I look all the time at, of course, we like comfort. We like what we know. But when we push ourselves a little, step outside of our comfort zone, push our boundaries, oftentimes we find a whole bright, beautiful world out there that we had no idea existed.
And that moment, everything that you do for a first time is scary. Absolutely, but you don't know what you're capable of, because if I stayed in I struggle real hard with anxiety. I go into full-fledged panic attacks. Sometimes even in my sleep, I have real bad panic attacks and I have really bad depression. And I think all the time, if I had just stayed where I was comfortable, I wouldn't public speak. I'm terrified of airplanes. I wouldn't have gotten on an airplane and I continue to travel the world. I'm the worst to be on an airplane with. I turn white, I'm sweating, it's horrible until I land, but I will still do it because those moments of being really uncomfortable you're able to then do something epic. Like you talk about, you have to do those things that you're really scared to do to know what you're capable of and to see what you can really do.
Absolutely. And, for the audience, we're obviously both Morgan and I experienced travelers. We both love it. It is hard to put yourself in a completely different culture, no matter where it is in the world, where you're like, I don't understand. And what am I supposed to do? How am I, like, what is it okay to say or do or but what's great is, first of all, we have the internet so you can find out some do's and don'ts to whatever country you may be going to. But more importantly, be curious. Curiosity is an awesome thing because if people want to share what they know, we all have knowledge and we want to share it. So if someone gets curious about who you are and what you do, I find most people are like, "Oh yeah, I'd love to tell you about my home or about this food or about this dance."
Yeah, and we're so good about like the technology. If it's a place, like I've gone places where I don't speak the language, and are lucky enough to have translation on our phones, and like you said, to do your kind of research ahead of time. And if you approach anything from that place of genuine curiosity, people, even if you stumble, I probably stumble every time I'm someplace new. It just comes with the territory. I do something silly and people will look at me and I'll be like, wait, what did I do? And if you're humbled and saying, oh, I didn't mean to do that, I didn't know that was a thing, people just tend to educate you and then you move on and it's not a whole thing. But the internet can be the best and worst, I feel like. It's
Absolutely.
great, but it's also like, don't some people might be like, this place is awful. Take all that with like a grain of salt, but know your do's and don'ts for certain places.
Sadly, what happens when we go and we're reading about something, we read a review about, I don't know, a restaurant or a city or something, the people that tend to be talking to us are the ones who had a bad experience and are out there, and you don't as often get the people go, Prague was awesome and you got to go here, right? I mean, you do get those, but you do have to wait through it. And I think, like anything, understand that information, take it in, but make your own decision about where you're going, what you're seeing, what you want to do. I find in a new place, take a city tour. It's amazing. The people who run city tours are passionate and knowledgeable, and it gives you a bearing of what's around you.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They definitely, and they point out the really good restaurants that you might not know of. I like to do that, and then I love museums in different.
Oh yeah, museums are great.
Art. I love art museums overseas if I can see that, or just even like when I was in Africa, I loved just going into the different places where they were making different things.
Oh gosh, yes.
It was incredible, and you just get so sucked in and learn about the past and
Sometimes they invite you to try, whatever they're making, a basket, a mask, whatever, and like, oh here, come here, sit down, and then you're like, oh my god, this is what am I? It's so fun. So so I love to ask my guests who have traveled, top 2 epic destinations that you would recommend. And I know that's gonna be hard for you.
I love Rwanda. I did, I loved it there. I loved to learn about, they have so many different types of businesses and they continue their rapid growth is insane, but you're also really close to the volcano chains, and we did a gorilla trek around
I was
there.
gonna ask if you saw the gorillas.
Oh my god, yeah, it was just, I actually got kicked by a gorilla,
Oh, well,
which
good for you.
a very wild experience to have a gorilla kick me, and I had, like, this weird footprint on it, but I wasn't looking, and the mom, I was looking at the baby, and the mom got peeved at the people next to me and charged them, but I'm like, "Oh, baby," and just kicked me as she was headed towards the baby. And I just like, what am I supposed to do? And they were like, relax. I was like, I'm relaxed. I just don't know what to do moving forward. And I text messaged my brother and I was like, don't tell dad. Cause don't tell dad. It's fun being an adult and starting a text message that way.
Yeah.
But I was just kicked
Things
by.
never change, Morgan.
It does.
Don't tell dad.
Don't tell dad I was kicked by a gorilla. And my brother was like, this is the weirdest text message I think I've gotten yet from you. So I love Rwanda. I will always find an excuse to go back there. But then my father and his grandfather and going back, they're all from Italy.
Okay.
So I know, can't you tell? No. So I love going back to Italy. It never gets old for me. But last year I did Sicily for the first time, and it was unreal. We did a lot of the Greek ruins in Sicily, which I found fascinating, and the food. The food was just to die for. So I like to say everywhere in Italy and Rwanda are probably my top two.
Okay. Have you ever been to Malta?
No.
Oh, Morgan.
I need to put it on the list.
Well, yeah, you do. Honestly, I got to go to Malta a few years ago. And as someone who I majored in history and psychology, so the history and it's fascinating. It isn't that big. It's not that big a island country. And yet there's an insane amount of unbelievably cool museums, churches, and historical sites. There are like sun temples that were built out of limestone, like something like 500 years before the Egyptians started to build
I have
the pyramids. And they have it, and it's lined up so that it's kind of, it's lined up for the solstice and stuff. And there's the island of Gozo is supposedly what the Iliad, where the sirens were.
Oh, wow.
There are Roman salt ponds that were built by the Romans, and they still use it today. The seawater comes in, and they make the sea salt. There are on Gozo. There's a Roman catacombs.
I love doing the catacombs, and everybody's always like, "That's really weird." But
my girls did not like the catacombs. They're like, "Get us out of here!" They're like, I kept waiting for a hand to reach out, and totally get it. Yeah, it was. There's so much history. Like honestly, like mind blown every day. I was like, "Wow, look at that."
I'm gonna have to do it because that's whenever I go somewhere new, I do all of the history. I'm still trying to get to Herculaneum. I've done Pompeii twice, but I want to see Herculaneum. But yeah, I'm a history. I go crazy for all of that. So I'm definitely.
And a funny thing, traveling with my daughters through Europe, we were in Amsterdam, and then we were traveling around. We were in Paris and Malta. But we had set up all these tours and stuff, and we're about halfway through. And my girl said, all of this is fascinating, but is the way we're going to see Europe museums and churches?
Yes.
And I laughed because I was like, that is how Americans see Europe, as we go to museums and we go to churches. They are all beautiful, but there is a lot more to the Netherlands and France than just museums and stuff. But of course, you got to go to like the Louvre and all of that. So
my nieces said the same thing when we were in Italy. They're Jewish, and we were taking them on the Duomo tours. And my niece looked at me and she was just like, "You just keep taking us to these churches. Like, what are we supposed to?" And I'm like, and she goes, do they not like the Jewish people? And I was like, no. Like, they're really old and they're beautiful. And I was like, no, you're getting the wrong idea here. But I did the same thing. And they asked kind of a very similar question. Is this all we're going to do? And it's like, no, never mind. Let's go get you guys some pizza.
Yeah, totally. No, yeah. But I thought that was a really great because I was like, no, that's exactly how, when I've gone to Europe, that's how I've seen Europe. And it is fascinating. Don't get me wrong. But I also get that the 15th church, no matter how beautiful is, you're like, okay, they're different, but they're not, they're spectacular, but you're like, okay, another fresco, up on the ceiling. Awesome. Beautiful. What else is there? So that's cool. Before our time runs out, I love to ask my guests. In my book, I talk about the concept of not yet, the things that we haven't done yet, that we want to, that are on our bucket list or whatever. So what's one or two of your not yets, Morgan?
There's a few not yets.
Okay, well, you can, I mean, I'm trying to make it easy and say one or two, but
Well, I would like to eventually start my own podcast, but not yet. I definitely still have, my plate is very full, so it would be very hard for me to do that, but I really would like to have my own podcast one day. And I'm working on my Italian citizenship, but it's a little difficult, so not yet.
Right.
I would like to spend a lot more time back and forth in Italy. And maybe eventually going back to school for a doctorate. I just don't know how to continue my education. But again, not yet.
Not yet. Well, those are excellent not yet. I would say the podcast is not as difficult as you might think. And look, it's your podcast. You could say once a month I have an episode, once a week I have an episode. And the cool thing is, if you're like, I need to, I know you didn't ask for my advice, but I'm going to give it anyway. If you're like, I know that I have this travel coming up, you could do multiple podcasts in a day and say, I'm coming out once a week. So then you're consistent, but you've already got like 10 in the can. So you don't worry about like, oh my gosh, I'm in Rwanda and I somehow have to interview Xander, from Rwanda and find a thing. There's many ways to do it successfully. So
I definitely am interested. I've been asked to do that, and I've had a few other people ask me to do a TED Talk.
Oh yeah.
And my anxiety definitely builds when I hear, "Hey, you should do a TED Talk." I'm like, I prefer a conversation. I don't know who would want to listen to me talk for a half an hour straight.
Well, good thing most TED Talks are 18 minutes, but still.
Oh,
I do know. I'd love to do a TED Talk. I'm trying to do a TED Talk, but
I was about to say that you should. Yeah.
The TEDx talks they're everywhere, but they are hard to get into, I have to say. So
We'll get there.
I will. Not yet. It's just
Not yet.
Working on it. Just haven't got my invitation yet. So Morgan, thank you so much for coming. What a great conversation.
Thank you
Truly
so much
epic.
for having me. This was a lot of fun.
And if people are interested in learning more about you and what you do, how can they find you?
I'm on all social media platforms, so you can find me on Facebook, Morgan Sliker DeNicola, my married name. I hyphenated them. So you can find me on Instagram and Facebook. You can also get in contact with me directly on the DeNicola Family Foundation website.
Cool.
And there's a contact us page, and that goes directly to me because I like to hear from people. So go there and reach out.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. The information is great. Love the work that you're doing. Please keep it up. Well, I want to remind everyone that if you're ready to begin your epic journey, go to epicbegins.com. And as always, epic choices lead to the epic life that you want.
Get your gift copy of the award-winning book, Epic Begins with One Step Forward, at epicbegins.com. That's a wrap on this episode of Epic Begins with One Step Forward with your host, Xander Sprague, best-selling author, internationally acclaimed public speaker, and licensed professional clinical counselor. To make your next conference or event epic, send an email to Xander at zander@epicbegins.com. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next episode. Remember, epic choices, epic life.